Hey folks, Steve here with a special I Napoleon video for you today. Yes, we're playing I Napoleon, a new game from GMT, designed by Ted Racer, and is a solitaire game. Which interestingly, and I'm going to quote the rule book on this. This is technically a solitaire card-driven role-playing game that puts you in the boots of one of the most famous figures in history. And I think what I find very interesting is that the term role playing game is used. Um, and, I think there's a lot of ways you can look at this as a choose your own adventure kind of experience, but a role playing game in particular, I find that to be a very interesting way to describe this because, you know, this is maybe a bit different than role playing games that I'm used to playing, Dungeons and Dragons or otherwise, in that vein. But it being a solitaire experience, we are playing the role of Napoleon, and we are going to play through his history and see what happens. That I think is the basic idea of the game, and it is primarily driven through card play, the decisions that we make along the way, leveraging resources at our disposal that will be affected by the cards, either gaining resources or spending them, and rolling dice, which will affect certain aspects of the whole picture. Now, I've got here set up the full campaign, and I have that set up so that I can follow along in the quick start guide. So I think I've done setup correctly. It's entirely possible that I could be getting some things wrong. But basically, the cards are the most key component here. So just to describe this very quickly, you see there's a number of cards stacks up there on the top of the map. That is a breakout of all the cards in the game based on category of card. So basically, at the very beginning of the campaign scenario, at least, we are going to start with an allotment of cards in, I suppose, is like the commander era or the command. I'm not sure how we want to reference this, but um, when Napoleon, our main guy here, is not quite first consul. So these cards here, which we have sort of a label card sitting on top of them, you organize the cards and you put these labels on. You can see this is comprising of cards 1 through 34. We place cards immediately, cards 18, 22, and 23. Now there's a spot where I'm going to set those cards over here as the draw pile. So I will be drawing cards from the pile there. You can see on the actual mounted map that there are a number of places to place cards on the map. And to talk very briefly, you can kind of see many of these are locations. So there is Britain, there's Holland, there's France itself, Austria, Prussia, uh, Polish, Polish question, Poland, I guess. Um, Crown Prince of Sweden, Russia, Kingdom of Westphalia, Kingdom of Naples, in areas you can't quite see from your vantage point, Spain, Portugal. Cards will be played here that will have certain effects. There's a diplomacy track where we have Britain, Spain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia all hostile to us, or at least France. There's also spots for cards to be placed for treaties, commanders, campaigns, modifiers, strategy, and tactics. So these are the two cards that we are going to be dealing with here as card 22 and 23 that are placed at the beginning of the scenario. We can see a maneuver card. This is a strategy and tactics card. It's going to give us die roll modifiers, so that's valuable. We also have Bonaparte leads, which is going to give us further die roll modifiers, which is good. But um, gotta watch out. We could see the game end early. That would lead to a very quick restart. Or I'm going to fudge the roll because I don't want the game to end. And then we also have over here, and I'll just adjust the camera a little bit more. We have spots for Chief of Staff, Minister of Police, Talleyrand. We have politics. We have I, Napoleon. And right now, this card placed at the beginning, we have General Bonaparte, +2 administrative. points per year, is what that says here. And right now, this was supposed to be played face down in the setup instructions, so I'm not exactly sure what the deal is here. It says place face down during CMD setup. We get one admin point per year, turn face up at the end of any campaign or expedition if you have 5 or more glory. So I guess we could say that Napoleon is, if this card represents General Napoleon, or General Bonaparte, I guess I should say. General Bonaparte. We're not even a general yet. Gosh darn it. We have to get some glory, and then we'll be promoted. There's spots for family members, wives, Napoleon's bed, and some spots where we could have an heir, and those are all different measured parts of the game here, which I have not quite experienced. This is all going to be new. At certain junction points in the game, we will add more cards to our deck. So at 1796, that's what this stack is for, we will add some more cards. If we become first consul or card 29 is played, I'm not sure what card 29 is right now, we'll add these cards. If we are first consul, we're going to get a whole boatload more. And if we become emperor, we add a crap ton more cards. And then there's a little bit of a trickle over the preceding years after that to add to the deck. That will add more options and things for us. What is our goal? Well, it's a multifaceted one. We would like to not die. Okay, easy. Try not to die. We'd also want to make sure that we become first consul. We want to become emperor, clearly. We also want to do well in our wars against the coalition and become the emperor of Europe, and or have a legitimate heir, and or reach the limits of glory, or exceed the limits of glory by getting lots of glory, I guess. It's not immediately clear how we're going to manage all of these things. That's a bit unknown, but the quick start guide will help us kind of proceed through the process. And I have things set up on here otherwise to spec here. So there's, again, we talked about the diplomacy track. There's a DRM track for the campaign stuff, which right now it just starts right now at 0. We have Napoleon's luck. So basically, once per year, and that's basically each turn is a year, essentially, we have Napoleon's luck that we can use. If we use it, it's used. It'll come back to unused at the start of a new turn, a new year. And we use luck to either get to re-roll a die or skip certain card events, basically. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. We also have a sequence of play here with a marker to help us remember where we're at. And on turn 1, at the beginning of the campaign, the game will start on the card action phase. We skip year setup, we skip card deck phase, because those were essentially done as a part of the setup. We jump right into the card action phase. There is a year track here, so we have year on 1793. That's the beginning of our grand adventure here. And we have other markers to denote our resources. So diplomacy points, I think that's what the D is for. G is glory, P is political points. Those are all at 0. We do have 3 administrative points, 3 at the beginning of the scenario. So that's kind of where things stand at the very beginning. Now, the Quick Start Guide does a pretty good job. I've not really read much of the rules yet, so I've managed to glean a lot just doing the setup and reading some of the Quick Start rules. The Quick Start rules do begin to talk about very quickly, if you were wanting to follow along, they talk about Napoleon's luck here. They also start to talk about the way the card action phase works. So we're going to end up drawing somewhere between 5 and 12 cards, and then we treat each card as a card draw. We process the card, and because we've shuffled the deck, there could be, it's going to be a random order of how things come out. Cards will have instructions to follow when they're revealed. There will be mandatory things that have to happen when the card comes up. So we could get bad events that we don't like that we will have to implement, or maybe they're good things that will have to happen. There's also prerequisites that may keep that effect from happening, or keep us from doing what we want to do. There may be costs involved into points. and all of that. So essentially, each card is either just going to be something we need to deal with or be negatively affected by, or maybe we have a choice to make, and then we'll deal with the repercussions of that. That's essentially how the card play goes. And then after we play a card, what will begin to happen is we will move the card draw marker here on the left side part of the map down and down and down. And once we've played at least 5 cards, we'll start to get into a situation where a die roll could happen that ends the progression. So after playing 6 cards, we will have a die roll. If we roll a 1, then we stop, and that's it for the year. But we likely won't, right? We're using a D10, by the way. So likely we're going to move on. We're going to move on. But once you start getting to 7 or 8, you have a pretty decent chance of rolling the range of numbers here and stopping play. So we don't actually know how many cards are going to get played per year. It could be a lot. It could be up to 12 if the die rolls make it that way, or it could be much shorter and we only get the 5 in basically. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of the impulse track in World in Flames. We don't know how long a turn is really going to be. So we can't be sure that we're going to get the things that we want out of a given year. We might not get enough. There's a timer ticking. Could be we might want the turn to keep going because there's a card we think we can get that can give us some benefits. We might not get it, or maybe things are rolling downhill on us, um, and we just keep getting hammered over the head because the turn is much longer than we want it to be, and we really want time to pass, but it keeps going. So that uncertainty will be interesting and nice in a solitaire game because we just don't know exactly what we're going to get or how long we're going to have in a particular stage of the game. So good to know. Um, After we are done with our cards, there's a campaign resolution phase, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to entail yet. We're going to get there. After that, there is diplomatic phases, but that's only when Napoleon has become first consul or the emperor. So we're not even going to deal with that immediately. Same thing with the domestic politics phase, because we're not actually in a political position of power at the very beginning of the campaign. We don't need to do those steps. And then there's a cleanup phase where we just sort of reset for the next year. So the sequence of play, the routine is basically, you have a start of a new turn, a new year, and that can go all the way up to 1817 basically, and 1817 to 1821 is treated, it looks like, as one turn, but I'll have to see what happens if we get there. If we get there, we draw cards, or we prepare the deck if we need to add new cards to the deck, shuffle that up, draw cards, execute them, make decisions, get to a campaign resolution, resolve the campaign, and then possibly do some diplomatic and domestic policy things before we do it all over again. And we continue to play through until we reach some satisfactory end, or we lose. There are some cards that will lead to game end under certain conditions. I've kind of looked ahead a little bit on that. I suppose we're going to want to avoid the worst of those situations as they come up. So, what I do need to make sure of is the campaign resolution phase. We're going to have to, we will end up dealing with that in the playthrough. So let me do a double check on what the quick start guide says on how we proceed, and we'll go from there. So give me 1 second here. Okay, this will be interesting. If we don't have a campaign card by the time we get to the campaign phase, well, we're not going to process the campaign. Makes sense, doesn't it? But any cards that would have been played that would provide modifiers to the campaign are effectively wasted, it sounds like. So we'll have to watch out for that as we go through our card phase. If we do have a campaign, which you would think 1793, we should be eventually getting up to some kind of campaign in northern Italy or otherwise, or something. We'll have to find out. Our history could be different from the historical Napoleons. Um, and then, yeah, the basic cleanup phase seems straightforward here. So our first turn should be relatively straightforward, I would think. Um, so yeah, we should be good. Um, so following along with the actual rules here, since we're going to be doing the card action phase, just going reading right from the rule book here. During the segment, we're going take the top card of the draw deck. It is drawn, flipped face up, and you must consider the text in the card's main section, which is preceded by when revealed, and will include some of the following: prerequisites or costs for the card to be played, whether the card is mandatory or not, where to place the card, options for you to choose between, instructions to roll a die to obtain a result, and interaction with another card. Whether the card is mandatory and whether prerequisites are met or costs can be paid must be considered before anything else. Okay. Looking over the rest of the rules, it's not terribly different than what was communicated in the quick start, which is good. The quick start rules should be very helpful. It seems to be the case. Yeah. Excellent. All right, so I have already shuffled the deck, and the place immediately cards here are already done. So I have cards 1 through 34, not including 18, 22, or 23, in the deck. And that is all I believe I can draw from. So we're ready to draw, I guess. All right. Pulling the first card. Let's see what we get. Uh-oh. Under arrest? Crap. Are we under arrest? What did I do? When revealed, if escape is in play, well, it's certainly not because we don't have the card. You may remove both cards from play, so this card has no effect. Okay, well, that is certainly not the case. We are going to have to deal with this. So otherwise, we have to roll a die. What are our results here? 1 or less. You are executed by Robespierre or the directory. The game ends. Okay, I don't want that. If Robespierre's fall has not been played, you are executed by Robespierre and the game ends. Okay. Not good. 4 or more, no effect. Okay. And then we can see that there are some cards, Robespierre and Superet Beaucaire, may provide DRMs on this roll if in play. Okay, this is a bad die roll for card 1. This is unfortunate. This is no good. I do not like Sam I Am. Do not like green eggs and ham. All right, so I'm going to roll die. This could be a really early end to the campaign, given I just rolled that. Okay, I rolled a 2. We're executed. Game over. I lost. Is that the end of the video? No. Here's what I'm going to do, guys. It's funny. It's funny. I feel like, the possibility is baked into the game for that to come up. I'm going to reshuffle the deck. I'm putting the card back. We're putting the card back in the deck. I'm just going to shuffle it up real good. Was not expecting to get that. Of course, I don't know what I expected. All right. New card. Drawing from the deck. Okay. Desiree Clary. Wife card. When revealed, may either discard or place in the wife spot on the deck if no card is there. If placed in the wife spot of the map, roll the die. She's very likely to break the engagement and we lose glory. I don't know what happens if, we don't have any glory already. So, okay. There's a 30% chance that we get her as our wife, and then we roll again, and she bears a legitimate son, plus 10 glory in place of it. I mean, okay, if we fail, what happens if we have minus 3 glory? Is there any penalty to that? I don't know. Let's try. Let's try to marry Desiree. Maybe not a great idea, but we're going to try. Okay, we got a 5. So she breaks the engagement. And we're going to remove this card from play. Minus 3 glory. Let me see if there's any negative effect for going into the negative. I hope not. Okay, best as I can tell, you cannot go into negative glory. So this was a fine time to be rejected by Desiree. I mean, we're not even famous, so who cares who doesn't want to marry us? Do you care that you were rejected in 7th grade? You shouldn't. And functionally, this is what's happening. So Breaks the engagement. We lose some glory. Well, we didn't have any to begin with, and she's out. Okay, we missed an opportunity to get an early legitimate heir. That would be a nice thing, a nice investment early in the game to get. We didn't get that. So no luck in love for Bonaparte so far. Now that's too bad. I'm going to go ahead and move the card draw marker, and now we're going to draw another card from the deck. We have enemy attack. When revealed, must place in campaign modifiers. And this is actually bad for us. So I'm going to put in the campaign modifiers spot on the map. You can see there. That's where I'm putting it. That's where it'll stay for the moment. Nothing much more interesting there. We're going to move on. Card draw 3. Drawing another card. We get Desai. I think maybe it's Desai. Commander. He's a commander. When revealed, may place in commanders. We don't have to, but may. Independent commander. He's a loyalty 4 to 10. I'm not sure what that will do yet. Campaign expedition effects. -1 administration to use. So we have 3. We could use that. And then he gets some bonuses. Well, I don't have any commanders at all right now, so I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to place him in our commander's spot, which is down on the lower part of the map. So we have decide to say I'm not going to get that right. So that's our card 3. We're still moving. We're still grooving, and I should make sure I know. Okay. So yeah, we will for sure at least play a couple more. So card draw 4. Oh man, there's that under arrest card again. Crap. And we've not gotten to play any other results. Okay, well, let's roll the die and let's hope for the best. Okay, that time I rolled an 8. So no effect. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Now, there is one question of where does this card go when we're done? And we're going to validate that very quickly here. Removed by the blah icon indicates the card is removed when played. Okay, so we did play this card. So this card is done. So we have avoided arrest. We are no longer under arrest. So despite our lack of luck and love, we at least avoided arrest this time. All right, now we're on to card 5. This could be our last card. Unlikely, but it's possible. We get sidelined. Immediate effect. Must, when revealed, -1 to our political points, and then remove this card from play. Okay, well, we don't have any political points anyway, so we're kind of eating some bad cards for not too bad an effect. I'll take it. Now we need to do a card check, or a die roll check. Do we continue to play a card? I rolled a 6, so we will play a 6th card, and we get Infantry Vendée. It's a campaign card. Okay, so this is a campaign card. We are going to have a campaign. When revealed, must place in campaign if empty. Otherwise, discard this and immediately reveal a new card. Okay, and then we see what the campaign result would get. If victory... Wow, okay. If victory is -3 glory and +2 political points. That kind of sucks, doesn't it? This is not a very good campaign. Even if we win, we just get political points. We don't get any glory. That's too bad. But we'll keep an eye on that. I guess we're a commander yet. We're not really leading anything. We need to get glory somehow. But so it goes. But this does mean we're going to have a campaign segment. I'm going to roll a die to see if we get a 7th card. And we will get a 7th card. And what do we get? Topographical Bureau. Immediate effect. Must get a political point, I'm guessing. So, +1p. cool. And then we flip maneuver sur le derrière. Guys, I can't speak French. It's not going to happen. Flip it face up, then remove this card from play. Okay, so we're going to get a tactics card. We get that face up now. So it was face down before. We are now going to flip it face up. So this will give us some benefits to the campaign in the Vendée, is how we're going to look at that. So now we will roll the die. I'm going to change where my dice bucket is, so it's a little easier. We're going to roll the die again, and we get an 8th card. Okay, so we're getting deeper into the turn, and we're getting Napoleon the Spy. Oh, gosh. If Robespierre's Fall has been played, -1 political. Otherwise, get a political point. Okay, well, now we're getting some political points. That's cool. Then roll a die. Oh, God. Okay, so roll a die, and then if we roll a 1, we either have to lose 5 glory, which we don't have, or 2 political points. Otherwise, Napoleon is captured. Okay, well, as long as we don't roll a 1, and we didn't roll a 1, so no effect. Okay, then this card is removed from play. Boy, that'd have been a problem. Gosh, you can't even get Napoleon out of the gate. We're having trouble. All right, did we get a 9th card? We don't. Okay, so I rolled a 4. The range was 1 to 4. So the card draw phase is over. We played 8 cards total. And generally, we didn't get a lot of things going on. We certainly didn't get any glory. We didn't get married. And we've managed to avoid the worst of political fallout. We even got some political points. We got some political pull and influence that we can maybe use to our benefit. At some point. I'm not sure what that will look like yet. But now we are going to need to look at the campaign resolution phase, I believe. So, as the title implies, during this phase, the campaign card is resolved. Okay, so we can assign commanders. The player may spend admin glory or political points, as noted on each commander, to move the commanders from the commander's box to the campaign box. Okay. Which allows them to be used during the campaign resolution. The cost is paid when moved, regardless of whether they end up being used in the campaign. Okay. Furthermore, after this step, no further commanders may be added to the campaign box or take part in the campaign. All right. So the question is, do we want to use, and I'll adjust this here. So this is the campaign situation. Now, there is a campaign battle map, which we can move things to, I think. Okay, so let's do that. Let's use the battle map. We're going to move the current campaign modifiers, and strategy and tactics cards to the battle map. Okay, so we're going to do that. Okay, campaign modifiers, campaign, and assigned commanders, I guess. To do this, we're going to need to pay an administrative point, which I'll go ahead and adjust now. We'll go ahead and use this commander. And here's the campaign battle map. All right, so now we're going to determine our campaign modifiers. Campaigns are resolved in combat rounds, each of which represents a single battle, resolved by a single die roll. Oh boy. Note that it may take more than one combat round to resolve a campaign. The die roll is modified by the factors listed below to a maximum of -4 or +4. So there is a range. We can't pile on so many die roll modifiers. That is completely broken. Now, what's interesting, I'm not sure what this loyalty value is. I wonder what that could entail, because I don't want to worry about loyalty. It feels like that could be a bad thing, doesn't it? Let's see here. Okay. So we did do that. We assigned him, so he's on the battle map. We paid our 1 administrative point. Does this have a cost? I don't think it does. It just says ongoing combat effect +1 in the first combat round of each campaign. Cannot be used with certain circumstances, but that's okay here. Okay. Hostile nation cards are not relevant right now. Campaign modifiers, we have a -1, which is not good in the first combat round. And then there's no other immediate things that I can see on the Infantry Vendée card that will affect these things. So all things told, if I look at this, if we get a stalemate result, that will lead to a second round. So it's a question of like, do we want a bonus on the first one or a better bonus in the second round? We're not even sure there's going to be a second round. So I think I'm going to want to use the +1 on this commander in the first round. So we're going to net have a +1 to our die roll for this campaign is what this sounds like is going to be the case. Total of modifiers, arrive at a final DRM, roll the die. All right. Treat 0 as a 10. So this is a 1 to 10 die roll, not a 0 to 9. Okay. We get a +1 to our 5. We got a 6. If you rolled a stalemate, lose 2 glory points. Okay, well, we don't have any, so that's fine. Conduct another round. Okay. So we used Desai, so he's used. We don't get him in the second round. These modifiers only apply in the first round. So now the second round is just going to be a die roll. There you go. Okay, this time we got an 8, which is a bloody victory. So, bloody result. Place 1 DRM counter near the domestic politics table. Okay, a -1 DRM counter. That could be a problem because I'm not sure. Domestic politics, I guess it's this marker here. We're going to set near the political table. Okay. Wasn't good we got a bloody victory. People don't like losing their men, but that's what we got. Ignore bloody results during CMD era. Okay, well, we were CMD, so we don't care about the bloody result. We just care about victory. So we got a victory. That is good news. It says right there. Great. So what's our victory? We lose 3 glory, apparently, which, again, we don't have any, so I'm just zeroing it out there. But we get 2 political points. Well, great. I'm going to get 2 political points. We're up to 4 now, which is interesting. Hopefully that will buy us a consulship at some point. After the campaign is resolved, either by achieving the required number of victory results or suffering defeat, roll 1 die for each commander card in the campaign box. On 1 or 2, discard that commander. Okay. I rolled a 6. Resolve any cards in the campaign modifiers that would matter at resolution? No. Remove any cards of the campaign or campaign modifiers box that had their removed by section triggered. Return commander and the strategy and tactics and potential campaign cards to their appropriate boxes face up. Finally, discard any campaign modifier cards that weren't removed. Okay, so I'm gonna reapply that command off camera, so I make sure I put everything right in the right place. But we will come back and start preparing for effectively year 2, turn 2. Okay, yeah. So we've cleaned up the cards here. So the campaign is complete, as best as I can tell. We got our political points for that, and all all is well in the world from that perspective. The Desai card, Desai, um, is remove after being played. So I believe he is gone now. I think that's the case if I'm reading this right. So when you do the cleanup, you do have to pay attention to when cards are removed. And at least for now, we keep this maneuver sur les derrières. I can't speak French, guys. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But this stays around as far as I can tell for the time being. So that's good. Having that bonus around for a while will be nice. As far as I can tell, we're not going to discard that. But everything else is kind of cleaned up at this point. We do discard the um, enemy attack card. It doesn't get removed from the game, it goes into a discard pile. I'm unsure if that will get shuffled back into the deck at some point, but we're just going with the removing from play as appropriate and discard as appropriate, and I'm hoping I'm doing that correctly. That's kind of the best thing I can hope to do there. Now, that's it for the campaign resolution stuff. So we start to move on to, domestic politics doesn't matter, all that doesn't matter. But we do get to the cleanup phase. So a couple of things to note here. First of all, we would flip all face down cards in the current treaties box. Well, we don't have any, no big deal. We would flip Napoleon's luck marker. I should have probably used it for the combats. I didn't. But we don't care about the bloody result, so for us, it's all the same. Reset the the admin and diplomacy markers back to 0. A or D resources do not carry over from year to year. Politics and glory do not reset. So the fact that we've built up 4 political points, we're going to get to hold on to that. There is an exception here. In the first year of the commander deck, which is what we're in, the commander deck, 1793, the admin marker is not reset. So basically, if I go over to the tracks and show where things are at there, you can see diplomacy, glory, well, it's at 0, no real change. Admin ordinarily would, but again, because of special rule, we get to keep the 2 points, and then the political points we get to keep at 4. So that's all the card play bits that we've had. We get to retain that. So we don't need to change anything on the general markers. That remains the same. That is good to go. All right. Now, I think that's it for the first turn, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. If you reach the end of year 25, okay, well, that's not the case. So then otherwise, I believe in any other game, yeah, return to the year setup phase. So that's it, guys. We've played through our first turn. Let's stop for a second and talk about kind of what we've seen here. There's been a mix of political stuff. So we're dealing with events in revolutionary France. Robespierre is around. There were some cards that maybe could have come up on this first year, but did not. There's a decent pool of cards here, right? If I look, there's 31 cards, potential cards we could be drawing from the deck, and we saw what, 7 of them, 7, 8 or yeah, 8 of them. So that's about a quarter. We only saw a quarter of the cards that we could have seen. So your turn 1, if you're playing your own copy of the game, could be a very different turn 1. You could have drawn a very different set of cards. We ended up seeing that arrest card come up, 1 right away, and that kind of forced us to restart the game already. An immediate loss, we'll call that one. And even on the second try after shuffling the deck, we got that same card. But there are a lot of cards that we could get, and we'll see more of before we start to add more cards in. It does make me wonder, just based on the number of cards that we get versus how many we're going to end up drawing, you could probably get better at the game by knowing those early cards and just having a sense of, okay, well, I want this card before the other one. I can't control for that. I just have to wait for it to happen. But I know that that card is going to be in the early deck, so I can think about that. I can plan for it. Now, I've not studied any of the cards up to this point. I don't know what's coming. I can't plan for it. But I think you could probably gain skill or knowledge in the game and perform better by knowing the deck and getting familiar with those first 32 cards. Then you start to get familiar with more and more cards that you add in. Of course, by the time you're playing the Emperor deck, the number of potential cards is just extremely, extremely large. So hard to say for sure exactly how we're going to be worrying about any particular sort of events. I'm not sure you can be too prescient in planning ahead that way. Um, anyway, okay. So I'm going to refer back to the quick start guide again, and this will take us up through year 2. But basically, we are going to be going into 1794. So already we're one turn into the game. In the second year of the game, there is a bit of extra setup that needs to be done before jumping back to the card action phase. First, advance the year marker. Okay, we did that. And then reset the card draw marker to 1. Okay, I can do that. Very easy. Let's see. Next, look over the game board for any face-up cards listing income effects. Cards with income effects have icons on either side of their card type banner to easily spot not only that they have an effect, but what the income on the card is. At this early stage of the game, that includes the face-down General Bonaparte card. Yes, that's true. In fact, that will be the only one that matters for this mechanic, which has an income effect on the card's back, which awards +1 at admin, as well as the front, which awards 2 admin after it is flipped. Okay, so I guess that's saying we're going to get that point. Is that what that means? Double check. So we're going to have the year setup phase. Income effects are ongoing effects. Year So for any place card with an income effect. And okay, so we're going to get, in effect, 1 admin. So that actually puts us back up to 3 admin, which is kind of what we started with on turn 1. Now there's a resource points exchange. There may be times when you want to exchange one type of resource point for another to gain a tactical edge. During this segment only, political points may be exchanged for admin points on a 1-for-1 basis. So if you give up some political points for admin points, I don't think we're going to do that. Glory points may be exchanged for admin points on a 3 glory for 1 admin basis. We don't have any glory to spend, so unfortunately, I don't think we're going to do any exchanging. So we're just not going to do that. I could see where maybe if you have a plethora of one type and you're hurting for another, that would be the time to do that. But I don't think we want to do that. In the card deck phase, the draw deck is prepared for the year. Cards will be removed from the game, added to the draw deck, or placed in the appropriate location box on the game board. Finally, discards are returned to the draw deck, which is shuffled for the upcoming. Okay, so we could get enemy attack again, which would be annoying, and I don't want that. During this phase in certain years, and 1794 is one of them, cards are removed from the game. You can tell which cards are removed because they will list 1794 in the bottom right corner of the card, known as the removed by area. And it lists a number of cards that are removed at this time. Okay, so there are cards that we need to remove, even though we've not seen them play. So I'm just going to try to sift through the deck very quickly. Advisor to the Turks is one. So I'm going to shuffle the deck. It's okay for me to be looking at these. Artillery Toulon is going to be removed. So that's a campaign card we could have gotten, which we did not. And that would have been a very good one. So we actually, that's what's funny, we didn't participate in the siege at Toulon in this narrative. We were instead fighting in the Vendée. Artillery Lyon, another campaign card that we're not going to see. And those seem to be the main ones. Yes, are all removed. Yes, okay. So all of these guys are removed in 1794, so they're just out of the game, I believe. And if I look around, there's no other that should have an effect. The quick start guide advises you to take a look around the map to see if there's anything else that should be removed, um, and all of that. Describes adding new cards, which will be based on a particular year or other types of things that could trigger that. The first time you will encounter this will be in 1796 or when Robespierre's Fall card is played. That's that card 29. Okay, good to know. Well, neither of those have occurred. Um, when adding new cards, check all of their card backs. Some are played directly to the board and not added to the draw deck. That's pretty clearly stated on the divider cards that are on top of those stacks up there, so that's straightforward. Um, okay, so finally, you prepare the draw deck for the year by shuffling the draw deck, returning all discards and any new cards that were added. And there's really only one discard. Every other card that we've encountered have been removed because we played them. So a like remove on play card. The only exception here is again enemy attack. So we're going to put that into our draw deck and we're going to shuffle that guy up. Now I think, I'm not going to always show this step of the game because it's a lot of fiddling around administratively getting ready for the next turn, but worthwhile showing the process. So yeah, if it were 1796, we'd add a whole boatload more cards, potentially put additional cards on the board map automatically. Any cards that are just discarded, which is different from removal, that's important, different from removal, we would, uh, anything that's just discarded will end up returning to the deck to be shuffled. Um, okay. Now, the rest of the Quick Start Guide talks about things that will happen once we reach the first console deck era, but that's probably at least several turns away, I would imagine. So I think I can just keep playing on through into 1793. And I guess that is a good question of just how much do we want to cover in this first video covering I, Napoleon. I suppose I could play maybe at least into through the end of 1795 for this first video to do some really basic coverage. And, the problem with this kind of game is because it's solitaire, I could spoil a lot of the game for folks. So I'm a little worried that if I show too much of the game, it's going to ruin the experience for others, and I don't want to do that. So I wonder if maybe this is the only video that I actually show, and I just play through the rest of the game myself. I'm sorry, that sounds probably lame for you guys, right? Like you would want to watch this, but I'm going to be honest here, guys. The fun of a solitaire game like this is to not have all the surprises spoiled for you. And if if this were any other war game where I'm just playing solitaire, no secret information, right? You're just playing the game and seeing how the game plays out. Here, the entire experience is seeing the cards for the first time, being taken by surprise, having to make tough decisions. And I don't want to deprive that of anybody who's particularly interested in this game. And if you're going to continue watching the series, I have to imagine you're interested in the game. So let me do this, folks. This is going to be a first impressions video, basically, or initial look at the game. I will follow this up with either some kind of post mortem or review. I think a post mortem would be valuable because it would allow me to say, here's what I saw in my game, here were the ups and downs, without being too direct, without spoiling the cards, and just talking about how the game went. It could be I could have some more false starts. I could have Napoleon die in the second turn. That could just happen. That could happen. So rather than show a bunch of false starts, I can just play through the game and provide my feedback along the way, and that will not hurt your experience, and it will keep the video series here pretty trim. So this initial play demonstration, and then we will do a post mortem, and then we'll likely do a review. But so not to make this too thin of an experience, this will take us through. I'll go ahead and play turn 2, 1794, and then we'll wrap up the video. So we're going to keep it going, but we're going to just do this next turn, so that folks have a pretty good sense of the way that the game is played and how things progress. I think that's the right way to go. So, okay, let me start looking here at the 1794 turn then. Okay, with our desire to continue on with 1794, we're going to draw our next card. We really haven't added new cards to the deck, so this should be all very early Revolution type stuff. Army of the Interior, immediate effect. Must add 2 political points. Then remove this card from play. Okay, well, that's easy. More political points. We like that. That is great. I'll set the cards aside. And we played 1 card. So now on to the second card of the year. We get Escape. May place in I, Napoleon. Okay, good. Triggered effects. May remove from play to ignore Under Arrest. And I think Under Arrest is already out of the game, so I don't know. Lose all glory, political points, and discard all campaign and expedition cards for the rest of the year, both currently in play and if drawn. Okay. Well, let me think about this for a second. Under Arrest has been removed from play. So is there any need for us to have this? Probably not. So okay, maybe. Well, if I don't want to place it, does this just go into the discard? I guess I'll set it in the discard for now. But I could see where we just simply remove it now, I guess. We would either remove it when card 33 comes up, we become first consul, or it gets played. So I'm going to simply let it be in the discard pile. We'll eventually not have to worry about escaping when we're at the height of our political power as first consul. Next card. Ooh, Treaty of Vassal. Okay, must place in current treaties and set Prussia to neutral. Okay, so current treaties, well, that's just right down here. Current treaties, and we're going to set Prussia to neutral. The first time we're dealing with the diplomacy tracks. So Prussia has exited the War of the First Coalition, which is great. Ongoing effect. Prussia remains neutral until the beginning of the Emperor deck era. At the beginning of that, remove this card from play. Okay, so we don't have to worry about Prussia for a while. That's just fine and dandy. We like that. That's great. Card 4. There's that damn enemy attack again. All right. Campaign modifier. We got to worry about. That sucks. I didn't want to have to deal with that card again so soon. Card 5. This could be our last card. Junot. May place in commanders. Loyalty 8 to 10. Not sure when loyalty matters. I haven't run into that yet, but we'll figure it out. But he gives us a combat bonus for an admin, so that's going to be important. We're going to need to use him if we end up having a campaign, but we haven't had a campaign come up yet. Okay. So now I'm going to roll a die, and we will have a 6th card. So our 6th card is Scabies. All right. Must lose 3 glory and then remove this card from play. Okay, well, I don't have any glory. I've still not gained any glory. So remove this card from play. That's fine. Scabies. All right, I'm going to roll the die. We will have a card 7. And it is the supper at that French name, politics card. When revealed, must place in politics. Okay, fair enough. And when Under Arrest is revealed, you get a +2 DRM if Robespierre's Fall has not been played, or -1 if it has been played. Then remove this card from play. Okay, well, I might need to skip ahead a little bit here, guys, because Under Arrest is already played. We already dealt with that. So I'm wondering if I should just remove this from play now. I think I'm going to do that. I don't see that there's any like reason to continue with this card. When under arrest is revealed, you get a +2 or a -1, but we're never going to play under arrest. So I think we're just going to remove this card from the game. I don't see the point now because we had under arrest come up. All right. Do we continue on? We sure do. Card 8. We get Capturing a General. Must place in campaign modifiers. Great. Campaign effect. After resolving the campaign, no matter the outcome, roll a die. Ooh, we get glory. Well, we like that. Yes, let's capture a general. I would love that. If we don't get a campaign, though, it's going to be all for naught. So we'll see. Are we going to get a 9th card? We are going to get a 9th card. Okay. And we get enemy guns. Must place in campaign modifiers. Even worse for us. Okay. Maybe I don't want a campaign now because these aren't really going our way. Are we going to get a 10th card? We are going to get a 10th card. Okay. And we get a Whiff of Grape Shot. If Egyptian campaign is in play, discard this card with no effect. Otherwise, lose some glory. Okay. Add some political points. And then remove this card from play. Okay, so Egyptian campaign definitely hasn't come out. So we're going to lose glory, of which we still have none, but we're going to gain a whopping 3 political points. We now have 9 political points, which feels like a lot. And this card is removed from play. All right. Will we have an 11th card? We are not going to have an 11th card. So that's it. Now, let me see. I got to validate again. We've got a campaign. If the campaign box is empty and Spanish Ulcer is not active, discard all campaign modifier cards. So all these bad events. Though we do lose the Capturing a General, which would have been nice. We discard those and we proceed to the diplomacy phase. So these 3 cards just go to the discard. They will come back in the deck. I don't see where they leave necessarily because their effect has not been triggered. So they're going to go into the discard. The maneuver card here still stays. The treaty and commanders here still stay, as far as I can tell. And then we proceed to the diplomatic phase, which we're not doing. Domestic, which we're not doing, because we are a humble commander in the French Revolutionary Army. Flip all face down cards, and the current treaties face up. We didn't have the Napoleon's luck marker. I guess I could have used that to try to draw more cards, but that would have been a bad campaign, I think. So I don't want to deal with that. Reset admin. Okay, so here's where we lose the admin points. We didn't end up spending them on anything. So it's going down to 0. We're losing out. We just didn't have a reason to spend it, but that's fine. Politics and glory do not reset. Well, the only thing we've got left is 9 political points. And that's it for this next turn. So we're going to end up moving on to 1795. So here I think is where we're going to call it, guys. I think this was plenty good as a way to interface with the game and kind of show how it works. If I play more, I'm going to spoil too much, guys. And it's really hard. How much longer do I play before I ruin the experience for you? I suspect not much more, because we've already seen a lot of different cards. But I think so far you can kind of see the way the game works. So cards may be placed. They may be placed in locations. They're going to provide ongoing effects. They will be removed at certain times based on their requirements. They provide game effects. We've not seen all the ways that the points matter, but we do know that if we get points like diplomacy or admin, we can spend them for different card effects when they're available to us because we have the card played on the map. We've seen a campaign get executed, even though it was it felt like a minor campaign, maybe we'll say. But we are starting to see this all begin to evolve. And so far, so good. I mean, we didn't get any glory yet, so it could be this game is going to run out of gas because Napoleon hasn't been doing enough glorious things to rise to the occasion, and that might be boring too. These solitaire games can work like that. Sometimes it's a little funky and you don't have a good run, but you just play it again and maybe you get a better run and you keep trying until you can get better at the game and then win a solitaire game regularly. That's sort of how you know you've beaten the system or you've beaten the game. Um, I am going to have to experiment with that. I don't want to ruin the game experience for you. So for here, I'm going to call this an initial play demonstration video, a little bit different than what I usually do. But I will come back in the coming days or longer with a post-mortem of either multiple plays of the game or my full campaign play of the game. I may take different permutations of that to get something of quality to talk to. And then we'll probably follow that up with a review or something along those lines, folks. So sorry, I'm not willing to show more because I think so much of this game is in the surprise of the events. But we'll have more to cover for I, Napoleon here in the very near future. I'm going to have some fun playing this game, gosh darn it. So hope this is at least interesting so you can see the way the game is played. It's pretty straightforward so far. I'm not terribly confused by anything. It seems to be pretty straightforward and plays pretty darn quickly, right? You're just appreciating the card, moving on, seeing what else happens, making decisions along the way. That's a really simple system. The cards drive everything. So far, I'm enjoying my time with it, and we'll see where we end up. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Keep gaming.